Hey guys, Olympics19 here. I know it's a big surprise, I'm back. Who would have thunk it? The last two videos were really great. I received a lot of support and really good reception from them. So I just want to thank you guys for watching them, commenting, liking, etc. There was one type of comment that I saw a little bit of, and so I thought I'd really quickly address it. Why is this dude still wearing a mask? Me doing face cam videos on this channel is a bit new, so I understand if people who aren't as closely following me know this, but wearing a mask is just part of my brand. I've been wearing a mask ever since 2018 when I made my first debut, for lack of better words. Originally, I used to wear this little Panda mask over here, and I stopped wearing it recently, mainly because I found out that a lot of very famous people and famous groups wear this mask, so it's not very unique. And number two, when I started doing these face cam videos, wearing this mask really muffled and ruined my audio. And so I decided to retire this mask, but I would like to, in the future, make my own custom mask. But until then, I've got this little mask right over here. I have another cloth mask that I used to use. I have no idea where it is now. I've been wearing this mask before it was cool. I've been wearing the mask before it was political. And I'm going to continue to wear the mask. Thanks for understanding. Today's video is a video idea that I've had in my mind for literally 7 or 6 years. I've had this idea ever since I started making mashups and mixes, and it's, why are there drum and bass tracks that are 116 or 117 BPM? I already know what's going through your mind. How is that even possible? Long story short, it's not. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys want to check out one of my other videos, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But sit down, it's a bit of a story, and I hope you guys kind of enjoy me doing a deep dive in this. I'm gonna be honest and straight up, I don't have a concrete answer because a lot of the resources online that I tried to look for this answer weren't necessarily concrete, but I hope that this video sort of gives a bit of insight into breaking down this phenomenon. So let's start from the beginning. When I started making mashups and mixes, I used to use this platform called Beatport. It's a DJ platform where you can purchase music, you can download it, and Beatport uploads all of the music with metadata attached. It's great for DJs because you can sort through all of their music using search modifiers such as key, tempo, genre, and artist. So when I started making mashups, I would simply go onto the site, I would put in, I want songs in the key of F minor, from 140 to 150 BPM, and suddenly I had all of the possibilities for a nice dubstep mashup or a trap mashup listed right in front of me. It is an amazing tool that I used starting off, and it was a tool that introduced me to 116 BPM drum and bass. Drum and bass, also known as DNB, is a genre of electronic music characterized by fast breakbeats, typically 165 to 185 beats per minute. With heavy bass, sub-bass lines, samples, synthesizers, the genre grew out of the UK's jungle scene in the early 1990s. Just by definition, 116 BPM drum and bass is not possible. So why does Beatport list some drum and bass tracks as such? It's because Beatport uses an algorithm or an AI to figure out a lot of this information. I think it should be a no-brainer. Robots are not always correct. And so while Beatport was a great resource for myself starting off when I was just a little wee lad, inevitably you can't just be searching up for things, and you have to be able to search for things on your own and figure out things such as how to find tempos on your own and how to find keys on your own. There are other mistakes and errors that Beatport often has, but usually they're pretty understandable. For example, it might list a track that's 180 BPM as 90 BPM. That's simply just dividing it by 2, half time, double time, etc. Another example might be listing a track as F minor when it's actually C minor. The only reason that's understandable is because that's harmonic. And while I don't understand how these algorithms are coded or these AIs figure out how to detect keys in BPM, I'm sure just like any other human, it'd be easy to make those kinds of mistakes. But 116 BPM drum and bass just sounds so out of left field that I always wondered, how does an algorithm that is usually pretty good consistently make this mistake? In front of me, I have a tab of the Beatport page for Monstercat. In it, I searched for all Monstercat tracks that are drum and bass and that are listed between 100 to 120 BPM. Now, while every track in this list might not be characterized as drum and bass, there are some that very quickly you can see are drum and bass that should not be here. Changes featuring Jack Dawson by Snouse, 111 BPM. The 85 remix of Be Alright with ML and Stonebank, 107 BPM. Andromeda by Protostar and Pixel Terror, 116 BPM. Barricade by Reaper, 116. Justin Hawk's remix of Barricade, 116 BPM. Another quick example I'm just going to use is Hospital Records. Hospital Records is very well known for their drum and bass, and so I thought it would probably be the perfect grounds to find drum and bass that is incorrectly labeled. And while I'm not going to pronounce the artist names or track names because I'm probably going to destroy it, I'm just going to quickly scroll through these tracks, and you guys are going to be able to quickly see that these are probably not the tempos that they are.
Straight to the southwest when I go back home.
So how do these algorithms keep making this mistake? Well, first we need to understand how these algorithms actually work. This might come as a surprise to you guys. I'm not a robot. So while I was trying to figure out how exactly these drum and bass patterns could be even remotely misinterpreted as 116 BPM, I did a little bit of searching and I found this super helpful article by Marco Ziccardi about beat detection algorithms part 1. And I'm going to be honest, I hit this article with I'm not going to read all that. There's all these equations and algorithms, like I don't know what I'm looking at. But I scrolled down to the comments and I found this one comment by Timothy Moody. Nice work. I've wrote a similar tutorial of how to implement tempo detection using the JavaScript web audio API, and they posted this photo. When people think of music being visualized in a photographic format, I think a lot of people tend to think of music as a spectrum. Okay, I probably should have done this earlier. I'm actually reading the article and I found something about Beatport's engineering blog. I'm gonna put all these articles and resources in the description if anyone wants to thoroughly read through it. But the general gist of it is that basically what they do is that they try to isolate certain parts of the spectrum on songs, and then depending on how much volume there is in that isolation, well, they'll be able to detect peaks. And typically these peaks are from transients. Transients from drums, such as kicks, snares, hi-hats, etc. What's great is that using these types of algorithms are really good for tracks that have very consistent drum patterns, such as house, dubstep, and hardcore music. But drum and bass really throws a bit of a wrench into that. And that's partially because the drum pattern in drum and bass, while it's consistent over a longer period of time, tends to have a lot more variety to it. Just as a quick example, house music will have a kick on every single snare, such as like a generic metronome. And dubstep, while it typically switches between a kick and then a snare, or a kick and then a clap, every single beat or every other beat will have a transient that makes it very easy to pick out the tempo of a track. What does drum and bass come in? Well, drum and bass typically has a kick, snare that sounds like this. And so while to the ears of a music listener, a music producer, this sounds in tempo, an algorithm might be having a bit of a mini heart attack at the moment. And so while even with a generic house track or a generic dubstep track, where the drum pattern can be varied a little bit, it's a lot easier for these algorithms to detect more consistent drum patterns, even if there's a bit of variety. And so with drum and bass, when you increase the tempo of a track so far, you need to add a little bit of variety before suddenly most of the track is just gonna be kick, 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 kick. Drum and bass is great for that because it adds a lot of groove, it adds a lot of rhythm and swing to it. But it's not so great for the robots. So we figured out where the robots go wrong. But how do they keep getting 116 BPM? The answer was right under my nose for years, and it wasn't something that I really noticed until I saw another comment. On another forum, I found this thread. Even if you define the correct BPM range in settings and reanalyze, Engine Prime still gives you odd values. In brackets, 33% north or south of the true BPM. To which is replied, it's really only drum and bass that the 33% off analysis crops in any significant numbers though. I've got a few drum and bass tracks, but once you know the BPM is likely to be out, you can mix accordingly. If you multiply 174 BPM by 2/3, you get 116 BPM. The answer has been right there, mathematically speaking at least. So what does that mean? Does it mean that these algorithms are detecting the first 66% or the first 2/3 of the drum loop and then interpolating it from there? I have this whole FL project in front of me where I was like trying to crunch the numbers and figure out how this all works into play. On the left, I have 174 and 116 BPM, and on the right, I have 175 and 117 BPM. Trying to reshuffle the drums in a way that would fit a 116 BPM tempo is just mind-boggling. And personally, I cannot seem to figure out how these AIs keep getting to that, especially because every single drum and bass track can vary greatly and can have a different set of external variables. But there is one thing that came to mind when I was thinking about what it could possibly be, and that's polyrhythms. No, not the track from Audio Records. I'm talking about polyrhythms. Polyrhythm, also called a cross rhythm, the simultaneous combination of contrasting rhythms in a musical composition. Rhythmic conflicts or cross rhythms may occur within a single meter. Example, 2 eighth notes against a triplet eighth, or may be reinforced by simultaneous combinations of conflicting meters. This is gonna go into a bit of music theory, and I'm just gonna say straight up, I'm no music teacher. I'm just a guy that keeps brute forcing music until it somehow works. But I'm gonna do my best to describe it. For any music nerds that are watching this, I'm extremely sorry if I use the wrong terminology, but I hope this somewhat makes sense. Feel free to correct me in the comments down below. In the context of a house track, you've got a drum every single beat, just like a generic metronome. Within that beat, we're gonna include these 3 notes. I believe it's called a quarter note. We've got these 3 quarter notes within a 4 quarter note beat. Together it sounds like this. 3 quarter notes and then the 4th quarter note, which is silent. Now what happens if we extend this 3 quarter note beat? Let's do some math. You've got this melodic element which goes for 3 quarter notes, but the drum goes for 4 quarter notes. While they differentiate and go off from each other, eventually they do come back together. This is a polyrhythm. And it's not exclusive to 3 quarter notes to 4 quarter notes, but can also be to 5. Again, we have 5 quarter notes within a 4 quarter note beat. If we map it out again, we once again have a situation where eventually the 2 contrasting rhythms eventually do meet up once again. Tallchief, I believe, made a very great video about polyrhythms a while ago. And if it wasn't about polyrhythms, if I recall correctly, it was a video about how to make Deadmau5's music, which Deadmau5 uses polyrhythms in a lot of their tracks if you ever listen back to them, and I'll play one right now.
Anyways, here are the chords to Brazil.
But I already know that you guys are probably thinking, Duality, Pixel. I thought you said that the AI mostly detects transients. And while that's true, what happens if there's polyrhythms of drums within other drums? While drum and bass doesn't have that, at least from some of the examples that I listed, what I believe might be happening is that the AI is detecting these polyrhythmic transients within the drum loop. And so while the track might be 174 BPM, it's detecting it at a ratio, I know, funny Twitter meme, that is mathematically consistent and shorter than 174 BPM. In the context of thirds, we have 116 BPM. I'm gonna do another example really quick, but in an actually produced track. This is DEKOY by YOKED. This was a track released on Disciple Roundtable, and I personally really enjoy it. And it has this section right here. I have the tempo set to 94 BPM, but technically I believe this would be 188 BPM. If I put a metronome over here, you're gonna hear the tempo lines up perfectly. So is the track 94 or 188 BPM? No, it's not. It's actually 140 BPM. How is that 140 BPM, you're asking? Well, here's the full track.
Fuck up, you little twat.
So while your head's probably blowing up at the moment thinking, how does that mathematically work? It does. And that's probably what's happening to the AIs that are detecting these algorithms. We'll never really know for sure how much of a track that an algorithm will read into, but it's very much possible that while zooming into a specific portion of a track, that it's misreading the tempo of the section of the track it's zoned in on. So while I'm looking at all of these reconstructions that I've been trying to figure out how it works, the simplest and most concise answer that I believe is probably correct is that the algorithms are detecting a polyrhythm of transients within drum and bass. How does that work? I have no idea. But the math does check out, at least in my opinion. I'm going to show one more example of a polyrhythm, which is a lot more in your face, but I also really enjoy the execution. This is a really old track, Xilent remix of Dodge and Fuski's Turn It Up. Before I play the track, I just want you guys to hear out for this specific part of the track. You heard it? All right, make a note of the polyrhythm within the intro. I'm going to make it very obvious so that you guys can hear it. Now that you guys have heard the polyrhythm with the vocal, I want you guys to hear the end of the second drop. The end of the second drop is house. And this is how the transition into the third part of the song goes. Yo, what's up? It's Duality from the future. I've gotten a copyright claim like 5 times by now every time I try to upload this video from this Disciple track. So if you guys want to listen to this track to understand what I'm talking about, I'm going to include a link in the description to stream this track along with a timestamp so you guys know exactly what section I'm talking about. Sorry I could not include it in this video. Hopefully next time Disciple won't be annoying about copyright. See ya. Using the polyrhythm of the drum and bass track, it transitioned seamlessly into a house track and then back into a drum and bass track. Another track that's more modern that uses the exact same approach is Bensley's That Feeling. Listen to the end of the second house drop and listen how it transitions into the third drop. Math, man, I hate it, but it's so good. I know this might take a little bit of time to wrap your heads around, so feel free to check out all these songs in full. But yeah, I guess that kind of summarizes the whole thesis that I had going for why drum and bass generally does not work with tempo algorithms. Now, am I saying don't use Beatport, don't use tempo algorithms? No. But if you're getting into making mixes and mashups, I think one of the most important things that you need to learn is how to detect tempos on your own. Now, I'm not saying learn how to detect tempos with your mind, because I can't do that. But there are 2 tips that I can offer. Number 1, if you're able to import the track into a software that allows you to see grids, such as FL Studio, and see if it lines up. You can turn on the metronome and it'll sound like this. Or if you happen to be on the go, a website that I used to use way early on was a tempo tapper. There's apps like this on your phone, but I used all8.com's BPM tempo, where literally all you do is they have this little thing and you press the spacebar. I'm just gonna use the example of house right here. I got 125 BPM. Let's see if that works out. And I was right. As you guys can see, there's no stretch on this. It's just 125 BPM. I'm putting the metronome on. Obviously, there's human error in this as well. And so the third tip would just generally be a bit more aware of what tempo a track might be. If you're listening to drum and bass, there's no way it's going to be 115 BPM. Just as if it's a house track, it's not going to be 170 BPM. If it's a dubstep track, it's not going to be 100 BPM. It's something you kind of pick up as you go. I've gotten pretty good at it. But even myself as a human, I make mistakes. There's been times where I thought a dubstep track was like 160 BPM because I'm just not paying attention. But yeah, I hope you guys learned something new in this video. This is a question that's been on my mind for, like I said, nearly 6-7 years at this point. And I was never really curious about it until when I thought, it'd make a really good video idea. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know. Tell me in the comments, has this been an issue that you guys have had? Do you guys have your own examples? Do you have your own favorite examples of polyrhythms? Whatever, let me know in the comments. Do you have a dog and what is its name? Or cat? Cats are cool too. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please drop comments, likes and all that. Help my videos get boosted by the algorithm, because while I don't use tempo algorithms, I'm definitely trying to use YouTube algorithms. So thanks for the likes. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. If you guys have video suggestions, video idea suggestions, let me know in the comment section down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.